We missed everyone.
We missed you all.
Indeed, I've been itching and scratching to talk to all of you again.
If you are not familiar with us, In Groove is a music podcast show dedicated to discussions of all things music related, everything from the bestsellers to the unknowns and everything in between.
Yeah.
As always, I'm your host, Jarrod William White. I am joined by my co-host Daniel Adam Griffin.
Hello.
And Benjamin Patrick King.
What up, what up?
We thought we'd just kick off our second season with just another round of album recommendations because we love doing these so much.
Format works well.
We love forcing each other to listen to music. We love pushing each other out of our comfort zones or just providing some recommendations and stuff, that we like, to recommend to other people.
Yeah.
And it gives us a format to talk about albums in depth, compare and contrast our different opinions, and to just recommend them to you as well.
Yeah.
Or maybe if it's an album you're really familiar with, to look at it in a different way. So we have 6 albums coming up. The way we do this is everyone recommends one album for each other person. So Ben recommends an album for Dan and I recommend an album for Dan and Ben. Dan and Ben.
Denny.
Denny.
Banny.
I love you
Den.
like a human being.
Let's go play some football.
Lisa loves you too.
It was great, but there's a crowd.
Football? No.
You're not my fucking mother. Anyway.
Good place to end it, yeah.
Yeah, so we're just going to get right into it. You'll figure out how it goes. Everyone recommended everyone else an album. So we have 6 records to talk about. We have some, recent releases in the run time. So that'll be interesting. Maybe at the end of the show we'll do a little 2014 recommendations.
Yeah.
Stuff from this last year that you should check out. But let's just kick it off with an old record. Throwback here. Vintage vinyl. Ben got recommended this album by Dan.
Yeah, Dan recommended me Paul Butterfield's Blues Band first album. By the way, congrats to them being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, this was timely.
So, perfect timing, along with Lou Reed and Green Day and a bunch of
Ringo.
others. Ringo too, yeah. So
He deserves it.
congrats to all them.
Yeah, Lou Reed, who isn't the Velvet Underground, already in. And then Ringo, the Beatles are already in. It's like sort of like a throwaway year for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was yet again another very strong, very, very solid blues album. An amazing group of gentlemen coming in to perform all these songs. I picked up on it. Born in Chicago. It's basically this different lyrics, but it flows the same as Crossroads, and I picked up on that. I'm like, oh man, that's cool. There's another big track on there that I loved, Screamin'. It's like that one's really cool.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Shake Your Money Maker.
Yeah. Oh, those kind of tunes, they had me kind of
Elmore James stuff
made me moving and grooving. I thought.
Were you shaking your money maker?
I did shake. He
was
shake
doing
a little
the butt.
bit. Like
He was shaking his tail feather.
I was in the counter room, and all of a sudden my professors are looking at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm shaking my moneymaker. Why aren't you?" But but this was a
Butterfield.
Yeah. This was some great stuff. I really admired everyone's work and contribution on the album. I thought everyone
2 great guitar players, Elvin Bishop and Mike Bloomfield.
I thought everyone pulled their own weight, and I thought what they recorded was something just great for the time. But the only thing I'd have to say is just that I don't know. I'd give it a 4. The only reason I didn't give it higher is just because it's just not something too special. It's just it gets the job done. You know what I mean? But that's the point of a good blues album for me. I just want to throw it on, get the job done, listen to some great work from some amazing guitars and stuff like that, and that's what they did, and I loved it. I've been listening to them recently after that, and their work keeps progressing, and they just one heck of a band. I give this album a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
I really enjoyed that. So
4 out of 5.
Thank you for the recommendation.
Dan, thoughts on Paul Butterfield's debut
Well,
album?
like I said, I think Paul Butterfield, what an amazing singer, frontman,
Absolutely.
harmonica player. I just, I love listening to some of the blues bands from the 60s and hearing them kind of, form and then creating the genre where they cover people, Elmore James and Robert Johnson, all the blues classics, and they electrify them and get a whole band going. And like I said, Mike Bloomfield, what a great fucking guitar player. Yeah. One of my favorites. And, it just, that album, I think every song on there just flows into each other so well.
So what was the, the inspiration behind recommending the debut over, their second album, East and West?
I've listened to the album, the debut album more than East West, and I thought, well, Ben likes the blues. And True. I thought it would be good to kind of start at the beginning and then work up to East West.
Yeah, it's definitely good to start at the beginning, but
especially when it comes to a blues band, you can see where they started from, and then once you get more and more into their discography, you can see where they started from. It's a cool transition into there.
Yeah, I'm partial to East West. Just the title track, that big long jam, and some more psychedelia influences, some different sounds, but still seems incredibly blended, incredibly concise. It's just well put together. Prefer it a little bit over the debut, but I can understand the
starting from the beginning.
Starting from the beginning, definitely.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you liked it. If you guys like blues and stuff from the mid '60s, I highly recommend you check that out.
Yeah, if you like John Mayall.
Yeah.
This is the next step.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No could forget their third LP, The Resurrection of Pig Boy Crab Shop.
Yeah.
It's also a good one.
That is like the coolest album title.
And also the Butterfield Soul album, In Your Ear.
Yeah.
Good stuff,
Great
too.
stuff.
Which I believe lent the name to the local record store.
Yeah.
In Your Ear.
But yeah, if you like straight up Chicago blues, I mean, they're, like Ben said, born in Chicago. It's great stuff. So I highly recommend it to all of you guys out there.
Wow.
Yeah. Am I next?
You guys were swift on this.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's, like I said, it's not like a super special album that I could really keep talking about, but I can always talk about the blues. But we've already had an episode like that, but like Dan said, I love the blues. This is just yet another blues jam band that I can get down with.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Good.
And quite the talented gentleman in there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to take it from the mid-'60s with Paul Butterfield to the present day, 2014, with my recommendation to Mr. Dan over here.
Yes. Okay, so my good friend Jarrod, he recommended me Lost in the Dream is the name of the album, by an indie rock band called The War on Drugs. Came out this year, and I have to say, I loved this album.
Oh, good.
I loved it. It had such a cool vibe. It was a good mix of retro. There was big elements of like stuff from the 80s I got in there.
Heartland rock.
Yeah. And combined with the modern, like with modern rock. And I gotta say,
I'm unwrapping my chewing tobacco right now. You can hear it on the camera.
No.
You want chewing tobacco?
I packed a lip earlier.
Okay. You got something for me to spit in?
Yeah.
Open your mouth a little bit.
I gotta say, these guys listen...
What are you talking about?
These guys listen to the modern stuff a little more than I do. I guess I'm sort of stuck in the past, but this album really blew me away. I was very impressed. It's very mellow. A lot of the songs are very mellow, kind of laid back. A lot of synthesizers going on and drum machines. Mm-hmm. And
but in a very organic way.
I agree.
It doesn't feel random.
No. It's not like rickety drum machines like whining synthesizers. It's very like gentle sort of synthesizers. Very like sort of like careful sort of timbre drum machines.
Guitar with the chorus effect on it.
The reverb, heavy guitar, but like doesn't get lost in that modern production wall of sound type rock and roll approach, which so many I get so sick of hearing indie rock albums that it's just a wall of sound with just disembodied voices yelling and
exactly.
It's bullshit. This is not like that.
No,
absolutely not.
I have a few standout tracks on here that I jotted down. I'm a big fan of Red Eyes. Jarrod and I were listening to this earlier.
Excellent. That's a great one.
And I really like the last two songs on here, Lost in the Dream, the title track, and In Reverse.
That one might actually be my favorite.
In Reverse, yeah. It was. I love that these guys, they know how to pleasantly surprise me when it comes to recommendations. So I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 5.
I'm right with you on that. I'm right with you on that.
Yeah.
I might pick, the opening track, Under the Pressure.
Yeah, that was
my favorite, because
good one.
it sort of encapsulates everything you're going to get out of this record.
Yep.
It is so catchy.
It is very
And
catchy.
it captures that sort of heartland rock vibe to it, the Springsteen, the Don Henley, the Mellencamp, the Fogerty. But it has this sort of almost post-punky sort of mentality to it that
I felt some Joy Division influence.
Yeah, that with the bass and the synthesizer and the way it just sort of grooves and gets into this groove and it evolves and then the way it breaks and then it goes into this spacey sort of textured synthesizer ambient section for the last few minutes.
It kind of goes back to it towards the end,
Yeah, and then leading into the Red Eyes, which is the most immediate catchy pop single on the record. It's just a fantastic way to open this disc.
What I really liked about it was, again, probably my favorite aspect was the heartland rock to it.
Yeah.
They didn't try to copy Springsteen or Fogerty or something like that and just well, no one's heard these guys in a while, let's try to get the new people to listen to. They didn't do that. They obviously took influence from them.
Oh yeah.
But in no way did they really want to throw it in your face that hey, we're trying to copy these guys, and they made I think they formed their own signature sound on this album.
Yeah,
that's my favorite aspect.
I think it's just the warmth of the vocal performance and the sort of focus on these textures that really makes it sound unique. It's a great fusion between old and new in that sort of way, but it really isn't like a throwback to those sort of it sounds nothing like
it's a good like I said, it's a good
mix.
It's a very good mix of the modern stuff now but there's a lot of retro kind of influences on there. And I can't wait to listen to some of their other stuff, but I have
to say I've heard their album before this, Slave Ambient, and just more typical sort of modern indie rock. This record, sort of a monumental record for this year. It's one of the best of the year and one of the most acclaimed of the years. And if 2014 is remembered for anything in the indie rock scene, it will be
this one.
Well, it will be the War on Drugs and the fake War on Drugs Sun Kill Moon beef will be is the main musical moment of 2014 in the indie scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like this record even more than the Sun Kill Moon record.
Yeah, I gotta check that out and see.
Yeah.
That's a very good record in its own right. But this, to me, and it came out of nowhere. I would expect a new Sun Kill Moon record to be very good. Mm-hmm. But War on Drugs hadn't impressed me before. And this sort of just was such an expanding on their own sound and expanding on those sounds that they're borrowing from. And it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
If you had told me last year that one of the top acclaimed records of this year was going to be War on Drugs with a throwback to Heartland rock, I'd be like, what are you, crazy?
Scratching your head.
What are you, nuts? That's not going to happen. Nobody will get behind that. But it totally happened, and it worked. And somehow, I loved it. The indie crowd loved it. Pitchfork loved it. It seemed like all the stars aligned for them.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And a 4.5 out of 5 for me.
Absolutely.
I
agree.
I think you guys will enjoy this. I'm very happy. I thought it was a wonderful album.
Honestly, give it a listen. This one's one of my favorite of the years as well. You might also hear our favorites from this year later on in the show. Who knows?
Mine is this.
Yeah.
Well, it's a popular choice.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of publications have picked that for number one, and I believe Amazon.com just named it number one record of the year. It's,
no kidding.
Yeah.
It's huge.
That's a big stamp of approval.
Yeah.
So yeah. Thank you, Jarrod. That was fabulous.
Well,
fabulous.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought of you immediately when we said what am I going to open the show with recommendations, and I thought, I'm picking new stuff, hot off the presses for these guys.
And I got one.
And the record I gave Ben, it reminded me of Ben's personality in a weird way.
Yeah,
and and this War on Drugs record, it made me think of you. When I was listening to it and really getting into it, listening to it again and again, I just kept thinking, man, Dan would fucking love this record.
Well, you were right.
And I'm glad you did.
Good.
Yeah.
But
you were right.
So we'll talk more about that stuff.
We'll get back
as
to
the show
that.
goes on.
To be continued. Part 2 to come.
I'm gonna take it off with my first recommendation that I got from Ben, which is a band I had never heard of.
Me neither, until I was kind of searching around.
I was gonna ask you how
music.
you found this band.
Well, this is the band Pangea, their second LP, Dummy. I was going around rating music, and people would, make their lists. I was just kind of casually browsing, and someone named #1 album of the year, their most recent one, called Badillac, and the album cover is so
nuts.
freaky. Yeah, and it immediately caught my attention. So I went on Spotify, put it in, and they were there. I'm like, all right, it's like 30 minutes long, give it a listen. Well, that one's good, and I kind of got hooked to their sounds, and I found out, they're 2 more. But this is the one that I prefer over the newest release. But yeah, I kind of just randomly stumbled upon them thanks to Badillac's awesome album cover, which is now currently on my laptop's background cover.
Well, I haven't heard the new record yet,
Yep.
unfortunately, but because I've been trying to get into this one.
Yep.
And this is sort of like a pop punk type of. It reminds me like skate punk a lot, like Descendants.
Yep.
It sounds like an old Descendants record, but like more pop punky than that. Like
I give you
the vocals are more like.
It reminds me of like Milo Goes to College, just because of they kind of write a bit silly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a bit more like.
But it is catchy with some pop punk.
Yeah, it's catchier than like hardcore punk, but it sort of has that like rough sort of quality to it.
Yeah.
And which makes me think of that like skate punk stuff from the 90s.
It's messy,
Like that messy like like the skinned knees of pop music, and this is a record called Living Dummy. Is the name of the record. It also has a pretty nuts cover.
Yeah. Pretty noggin futz
Purple
over
cover.
there.
And it's quick, it's to the point. I like the vocals in this. They're very whiny, very shrill, very unpolished. The whole record's unpolished, but in a way where it's not. I'd have to listen to the new record to gauge it, but I can't quite tell just from this one album if it's more, just as a means of how it was produced, or if it was a conscious decision to make it sound sort of rough and raw like this.
Yeah.
Because it sounds so unproduced to the fact... Well, I'll say this. It doesn't sound like some Giacomo's junior year of college, junior year of high school, recorded an album in their basement. It doesn't sound like
There's a bit of structure to it.
It's not like a lo-fi record, but I don't know, like a Slanted and Enchanted type of thing, where like that album just has this sort of like roughness and gruffness to it, like they made a mistake and they didn't care.
Uh-huh. What I will say for the new album, Badillac, you're not going to hear a lot of that messiness to it. That one, that one I had a problem with just because it kind of got produced just a bit too much. Instead of like going along of their punk, kind of that skate feel, they're going after more of a rock feel.
Okay, so this might have been more like a happy accident, or just like
because
them playing to their advantage at the time.
They were trying to make sure people knew them, because the new one, there's not a whole lot of messiness. There's actually like one or two, probably 2 songs on there that actually kind of drone on a bit too much, and it just it lost what I liked about this one and the previous album. But it's still definitely worth listening to. It's different. But this just itself, Living Dummy. It hooked, like you said. It hooked me with its messiness. It hooked me with its cool vocals in the background. It just hooked me because it got my blood boiling a couple of times too. It just got me going.
Well, I mean, I would say even at the short runtime, it starts to like around like the 2/3 mark. You start to think, oh, well, I'm getting a little bored of this, but they throw some of the best songs in towards the end that sort of like pick you back up. And I'm trying to remember, is it "My Head Is Sick"? I think was one of my favorite songs.
That one's really good.
Some of the songs towards the end are very catchy, and they sort of like pop it up again, and it leaves you on a high note. So even if like most records or a lot of records have this problem, it's sort of like towards like the second, third, like towards like on a record would be like the middle of the B-side. Gets like a little like, but then they try to like throw one good great
Yeah.
song at the end. This sort of falls into that trap.
Yeah.
But that's not like
They got it. They
a
got
flaw,
maybe
really. I mean,
in this. They probably got like 2, maybe 3 in the middle that aren't as strong. But like you said, the end comes at you to
some
bring
of the
in
best
for the rest.
Yeah, some of the best tracks.
Make
towards
sure
the
you
end.
stay.
And I don't know. It's very well. I'll say this: it's easy to listen to if you're acquainted to these sort of sounds. If you like punk music, it's like
It's a no-brainer.
It's so easy to listen to. It's not like trying to get into, like Nick Cave as a punk fan, or like get into like the Cramps, like that have like a more like nuanced sound. It's like very sort of immediate punk.
Yeah, it's approachable for people.
But also approachable if you're not like into like old school punk. If you're more like, I don't know, I've never been this kind of person, but if you like Green Day and Blink-182, this might be like a easier way to ease yourself into
because they're a bit more
hardcore punk than just like dropping Dead Kennedys on Raw.
Yeah.
It's a little more quick to the point, accessible pop sensibility than kill the poor.
Yeah.
But
you're not gonna get the rotting vegetables from Dead Kennedys.
Fresh fruit for rotting vegetables.
Yep. You're not gonna get that out of this. But this is, if you want like a quick transition into that, into a harder
it's
punk,
non-confrontational messy punk music, and it's fun.
It is fun,
and I had a fun time listening to it.
Good.
So I'd give it like a 4, I guess.
Yeah,
4 out of 5.
I'm giving it a 4. Yeah, that's what I would give it.
Because it's fun.
It's
fun out of 5. I'm gonna give it a fun out of. I'm gonna give this record a fun out of 5.
Well, I mean, 4 and fun both start with F.
So does 5.
Oh, that too.
I'm gonna give it
that would be fantastic.
A fun out of 5. I'm
so 5 is fantastic.
If you like fun, I give it 2 funs up.
2 funs.
It's fun.
Dan, I don't know if you noticed, but like he meant like his thumbs, but he said fun. You get it?
2 funs up.
So weird.
Mind blown.
I know, right? Oh man.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I give it fun.
People are gonna wish they were in
Let's
here.
hope people aren't turning off right now.
No, you gotta keep going.
Why? They're having so much fun listening.
They're having so much fun.
Too much fun.
Dan, you heard some of this record earlier. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. It was very... Like
Don't
you
say fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was, but you're right. Like, it wasn't... Like, when you think of, like, I don't know, like, that kind of genre, like, you think of bands like Blink-182 and Sum 41, and it wasn't really like that. It was...
Yeah.
It's a little more... Aggressive? Too aggressive? Too aggressive?
Too aggressive? Well, it wasn't too aggressive.
But it was aggressive.
It was aggressive.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought it was pretty good. From what I heard, probably like a. I mean, I only heard a few songs, but from what I heard, maybe I'd give it like a 3.5 out of 5, maybe 4, if I'm feeling fun.
Cool. Well, anyway, let's move along. We talked about that bullshit for enough. We're going to Ben.
Yeah.
Back to
another
Ben.
2014 record
Mm-hmm.
from me.
Oh yeah, this one. Holy.
Ben, what did you think of? Tell the good people what we're talking about.
Holy Christ! This one, this is Clippin' by Clipping, and it came out this year.
Clipping. Okay.
Clipping.
It's like this hard.
Clipping, and the album is spelled. It's clipping, but with no vowels.
Right.
Clipping.
It's weird.
Clipping.
Oh, I didn't even notice there was another I missing. Oh God. This is a hard industrial hip hop album, and holy mother of God, the intro, right?
The first.
Well, I have to say when you clip the sounds and everything, when you clip a sound, you're distorting everything, and everything just comes in staticky.
It's when it maxes out, and you get that.
It goes nuggin futz, right? So the intro comes in, and
is this the one that starts out with "It's clipping, bitch"? Or is that their first record?
No, that's how they end the intro. They end this.
Okay.
Ghost on the avenue of selling dreams again, sleep again. Yes. And it's just like...
I need to hear this.
It's so in your face, right? And then all of a sudden, they're just like...
it does like glass breaking sound. That's...
It's clipping, bitch. And it just... it literally freaking explodes. And then it stops. And then...
Goes on the avenue, make a bit of a sound.
This is going into Body Blood. But it goes right into the second one and explodes. And the MC immediately
Daveed Diggs.
MC Daveed Diggs. From that second track on, he takes you on this crazy, awesome journey you do not want to step out of. What I loved about this album was that no matter how hard it got, no matter how crazy it got, it never lost control of itself. Everything felt very concise. Everything felt very... It all flowed well. It never got to the point where I was kind of questioning, well, this is just a bunch of sounds and people rapping in the background. No, their lyrics were great. They ranged from kind of violent stuff with that second track, Body Blood, to actually there's one that kind of telling the story of some guy.
You talking about story too?
Yeah, getting
about the arsonist.
Yep. That one's pretty awesome. So it's not just a bunch of random sounds of someone. It's still a bunch of crazy awesome sounds, but backed up with some amazing lyrics writing in the background.
Yeah.
They feature a few people on this album. I can't think of their names.
Gangsta Boo's on this album.
Gangsta Boo,
who's on Run the Jewels too, and I like this.
Oh, she's
Akinyele back. She's all day long, you know.
Oh yeah.
That's Gangsta Boo,
right? Yeah,
and
I know
she's
her.
on tonight on this record, which I like better.
It's the third song.
On here.
Yeah,
Work.
I'm thinking Work.
Featuring Cock Pistol Cree.
It's
a different.
Her?
No, it's a different female rapper.
Well,
that's a really good verse.
Actually, well, for me, that was like my one downset. I didn't like her on the album. That was like my one complaint about
on the feature on Work or Gangsta Boo on Tonight.
Work.
Okay.
That's the only one that I felt. I didn't like her sound. I didn't like her tone or anything. It kind of annoyed me to a point. I like Gangsta Boo. She was great, but this
Cock Pistol Cree.
I
wouldn't want a whole record of it, but for the one feature, it really sort of pops.
I don't really skip over her. I still listen to it, but that's the only one that I'm just not crazy about. But everyone else's appearances on here fit really well, and I've been listening to it like freaking non-stop.
It's addictive.
It's very addictive, especially that intro going into, but it's awesome. I love Storytime too. That's awesome. And I'm trying to think the last big track on there.
Are you talking Dominoes, the one with the kids choir?
Dominoes. That
song is
holy god. That one might be my favorite. That or Body Blood. I'm not sure, just because Body Blood is just so freaking addictive when it comes out of the first.
I was going to ask you, because there's a track on this album that divides people completely down the middle to like love or absolute hate, and it's Get Up.
I like that way.
One with the alarm clock.
People are split.
Yeah, some people hate that.
Oh, that one's cool. I thought
that is one of my favorite tracks on the album. That song is
really interesting.
Dan, it starts off with an alarm clock beeping, bam, 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 and he starts rapping over that. Like that's the beat, and then like a second alarm clock comes in the same beat and harmonizes, and then that leads into like these synths that creep into like this like monumentally catchy chorus.
It's weird how he starts it off with the alarm clock, and then you're just like, where is this? I'm hoping like, okay, not 4 minutes of this, but he, like I said, MC, what was his name?
Daveed Diggs.
MC Daveed Diggs. He's got these interesting sounds. He's got these interesting ideas that flow so well throughout the entire album. None of it feels random. None of it feels out of place. It all feels like it should be in there. So
that track is so great. And another one that's really cool that has a sort of gimmick to it is Taking Off, which he's rapping in the verse. He's like rapping like at this time. He's like dun 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 dun, and then he takes it double times to the dun 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 dun.
I can't wait to hear
and then
this.
he does double time of that, and you're like, okay, he can't get any faster than this. And then he does it. And then it leads right into the chorus. And the chorus is about this rocket taking off.
Nuggin fudge.
It's so well constructed. And this is their second album. I like the first album.
I got halfway through that one. That one's good.
It's more grating, more challenging listen. This one sort of took the abrasiveness of the sound
just toned it down to a structure that people could get into.
I wouldn't even say it toned it down. It just like fine-tuned it enough that it became like all the more listenable for it.
Yeah.
And I think the tracks on this are just better structured and better put together.
Better written, I'd say, as well.
And the choruses on this album are just it's like pop rap. It's like this. They're like club anthems, but
because you're still hearing the songs about like who's gonna get fucked tonight. And I love that one's. And then
who's fucking tonight?
Who's fucking?
Who's fucking
and you still got the ones of like still like get it in, stuff like that. You're still gonna get those club like feels, but they don't feel like cheap songs that they were like, oh well, we wanted this on the radio. No, they actually made sure like they sounded really, really awesome.
Yeah,
and
like
do.
a song like Tonight, that chorus it's like
tonight.
What you would expect to hear on like the radio.
Yeah.
It's the last song of the night. Don't forget to tip the bartender. But the way they like combine that with the really abrasive verse and then just the synthesizers, it's creepy and like eerie, but like blood pumping. And, and work is. I don't know. I love work.
Yeah. I do
just
too.
The way it starts with, it sounds like the beat is being made from like people banging on like coils or like a fence.
Yeah.
It looks like the fence on the album cover. Like it sounds like the cover.
That's why there's a rip in the album cover.
Yeah, it's like this springy sort of metal sound, and but then like this like boom, 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 boom sound, and I don't know, the chorus is, when the cash flow, when he gon' go get it, make that work, get that work. It's so fucking catchy, dude. But I don't know, we can't even like talk about this album in a way that sounds intellectual because we just start like singing and like yelling and screaming and stuff because it sort of like inspires that sort of feeling in you. It's just it's
what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
I don't know. It's incredibly haunting at the same time.
Yeah,
like a song like Body and Blood, which is telling this story
you.
about this woman who goes to clubs and picks up these men, then takes them home and kills them.
Fucking kills them.
And she says, "All I need is your I don't need you for shit, but your dick and your piss and your body and blood." Yeah, it's
so addicting and haunting at the same time. It's scary.
It manages to like portray the lifestyle and also satirize it at the same time, and it gets this like wonderful middle ground of like Daveed Diggs saying these like really like stereotypical like gangster rap, pop rap, trap rap type like cliches, like in Work when he's saying like twerk something girl, it's like this like stupid crap, but then he like juxtaposes it with like this like really spitfire verse about, you know, a woman killing this person in this really graphic way.
Scary.
And I don't know, that's the brilliance of this record, and that the like juxtaposition of the lyricism extends to the juxtaposition of the sound. How you get these abrasive backdrops and these industrial sounds that you would hear on like a Throbbing Gristle record.
I was gonna say, I remember reading your year-in review for everything. I liked your comparison. It's like Death Grips and Throbbing Gristle fans just met and made that.
Yeah, but then you have these choruses that are like Gucci Mane or like Outkast or something just came out and like. Tonight reminds me of like the last song on Speaker Box, that song about the bartenders and, you know, everybody stand at the back of the wall. That song, like, I don't know, it just, that juxtaposition works so well, and that's what failed in Mid-City, their first album, which I do really like. Yeah. But it's more for people that are wicked into industrial rap.
Right.
Whereas this is a good like entrance point.
Absolutely. So I'd say in conclusion of Clipping's second LP, I give this a 4.5 out of 5. This is one of the best I've heard all year.
Yeah, I'd go for that too. Like a really strong 4.5. Like I listen to this all the time.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, I'm at the gym running, and all of a sudden just like get in. I'm like I'm trying. But yeah, Dan is. I'm seeing you over there. And I can tell that this one you're probably gonna give it a listen to, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we can't shut up about it, obviously. But yeah, this one is definitely some of the best I've heard all year, and I super duper hyper highly recommend it to everyone.
I recommend this one very highly to people who like more. If you like Death Grips, you should listen to this. Yeah.
But we move on.
Yeah, we move on, and we're going to Dan with something totally different.
Totally.
His recommendation to Ben.
Yes. So, Ben,
Hey.
he recommended me an album by a group that I'm meaning to get into. I've heard of, like, a few of the songs of their songs in the past, but never really listened to a full album. They are a British hard rock, blues rock, prog rock.
Yeah, they kind of
They're a
scatter everywhere.
Band called Uriah Heep. Now, this album, well, it's pretty much, there's a UK release and a US release. I listened, it's the UK release, I believe, is very heavy, very humble. So it's
Very
just
heavy,
without the H's.
And then the US release is just
It's just Uriah Heep.
Yep.
That's the version that I have. I have the vinyl of that.
The only difference is there's like one extra track, there's one track.
There's one track swapped.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
But it's practically the same album. I listen to both tracks. But gotta say, a very powerful album. I think.
Right?
Very dynamic. You know, the intro. I love the opening track, "Gypsy."
Oh, it's probably the best track
yeah.
on the record.
Yep.
It's one of their best songs too.
I
just
agree.
the way that starts, that.
Perfect intro.
Great guitar riff too.
Yep.
And I love Mick Box's vocals. It sounds like
he can really
Ian
screech it.
Gillan on speed or something.
Well,
It's like, it's
Mick Fox
very-
isn't the main vocalist.
He's not. Okay.
David Byron is the
okay.
lead vocalist.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry. Whoever the lead vocalist
David
is.
Byron's vocals are incredibly theatrical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like-
Especially on the track that's only on the US release, Bird of Prey.
Yep.
That song is just so
nuts.
over the top.
I love it.
Yeah. So, yeah. I loved that track. I loved Lucy Blues. And I loved the last song, I'll Keep On Trying.
Lucy Blues is one of the best on there.
It's a good mix of, the stuff. It's a classic album from, the early 70s with the mix of the prog and hard rock.
And it blends also so well with especially on a debut like that. They didn't want to. I think they wanted to establish a very good identity for themselves, and they certainly did on this one.
Yeah. And what's that song on there that's very, very, like, quiet and has acoustic guitar? It's like the third song on there?
I believe so. Yeah.
Are you talking about Come Away Melinda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked that song a
that's
lot,
a really
too.
good song.
I would give this a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna for me personally, I give this a 4.5 out of 5. I just thought it was everything worked incredibly well. The only thing there was I can't think of it off the top of my head. There was a little quiet section and it just felt a bit too hollow and everything.
I know what you're talking about.
That was just like the one thing I had. I'm like, okay, something. I felt like something should have been in there. That was my one complaint. It was one section. It felt hollow, but everything else, it was put
particularly
together really
the in Gypsy.
Oh,
yeah, that's one
that
of the
is
best
so
from Uriah Heep, and I love these guys.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm glad I finally really got to listen to a whole album.
I'm glad we. Yeah, so both of us, both debuts.
Yeah, both debuts.
So because you've now both of us have heard both. Which debut do you like better? Paul Butterfield?
Probably Paul Butterfield.
Yeah.
But not by much. I really enjoyed this. I would give Paul Butterfield a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
I always give this a
so we're swip swapping. I give Uriah 4.5. I give Paul a 4. But I mean, neither of them.
It's just personal preference.
Yeah, neither of them are bad or anything.
No.
Both of them are.
No, they're both really
very
good records. But totally different. Like,
Yeah.
Paul Butterfield is
That's straight up Chicago blues.
Yeah,
different
different approach and stuff.
probably more like accessible to like a mainstream audience.
Yep.
Uriah Heep is just more flamboyant, more
Yeah.
theatrical with the prog sound to it.
Yeah.
The like really like
theatrical.
idiosyncratic
They're quite dramatic
organ
vocals.
sound
Kinda
everywhere.
dramatic,
You know, like but if you like Iron Butterfly, like
You're gonna like this. I
you
think.
can get into
You can do it.
Yeah.
Uriah Heep, no problem.
I swear you can do it, but
Yeah, I would give it a 4 out of 5.
Now
Sweet.
here's another
Good
now
stuff.
because you also recommended the debut to Dan for his first album by the band. Why do you have a similar reasoning to Dan with recommending him the Paul Butterfield, or because why over a record like Look at Yourself or Demons and Wizards?
well, I think I don't know. Well, I think by the time we were all trying to figure out what we want to listen to, I just got done listening to Very Heavy a few days earlier, and it was still in my mind.
Huh.
So I thought of that. Look at Yourself is my favorite from them.
That's my favorite.
And it's
as
also
well.
probably in my top 10, if not 15 albums ever. I love that whole LP to death. I think it is amazing. But no, it was just on my mind. I was still thinking about it after I listened to it. I was still thinking about Gypsy and stuff. I was still thinking about the ending track there. But it was just on my mind. So I thought it was a good, solid one to grab.
That makes sense, yeah.
But
it's always good to start from the beginning.
I mean, a band that has a good debut,
yeah.
You know, you can. Now, I'm not going to tell someone to start their Genesis discography with the debut.
Invisible Touch.
Maybe not.
No, the Genesis debut they disowned, you know. So
right, yeah.
From Genesis to Revelation, like, no, start with, you know, Singing by the Pound. Start with Nursery Crime or something.
Trespass.
You know, but for a band with Uriah Heep that has a really strong debut, you know, starting with the debut is a good idea. Same for Paul Butterfield, you know.
Yeah.
But, like, for example, I wouldn't tell someone who first getting into the Beatles, start with first Beatles album.
Please me.
No.
It's
got to turn them off. You know?
I'd go for like Rubber Soul, Revolver.
Yeah, start with one of those records.
Well, or you could start like how I started with number 1.
Yeah, start with Beatles 1.
Number 9.
Love Me Do. That was the first song I ever heard.
But that's a great disc because it gives you an overview of their whole career. It goes all the way from
62 to 70.
Yeah,
you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
But real quick story. I remember reading up on this album, and I guess the guy who's on the cover, I forgot which singer it was. They put so many cobwebs on him the first time through that when they printed them out, you can't see his face, so they had to redo the picture with less cobwebs before they printed out these. And they're like, oh
really?
I can't see my face.
Have you seen
very amber?
Have you seen the other cover? It's like
the other cover is better.
I like
That's
it
the one
better,
that
too.
I have.
It's like
what does it look?
dragon.
I'll show you my record of it after this. It's
I like
pretty
it better.
sweet.
I like
The other one's a
cobweb
little
thing.
creepy.
For me, I don't know. Personal preference. I'll see the dragon later. But yeah.
Cool.
Glad you liked it.
Yes.
Glad.
Check it out.
We're getting to our last record. Like we said, after this, we're going to talk about just 2014 quickly. You know, some favorite records, some like things that stand out. But this is our last record, and this is another retro one. This is
Early 90s.
early 90s. And this is, Dan recommended this to me. This is Brand Nubian's debut,
Yeah.
One for All. This
Another
is
debut.
Brand new.
Yeah, another debut. This is an old school East Coast, like, sort of... They're in that whole, like, native tongues sort of thing.
Yeah,
with,
they're in native tongues. Tribe, De La Soul.
Tribe, De La, you know, the more,
Jungle
like...
Brothers, yeah.
Conscious, you know, not, like, commercial, you know, hardcore hip-hop scene that sort of emerged in the late 80s.
Yeah.
With records like De La's 3 Feet High and Rising from 88, I think.
Yeah.
Which sort of set the groundwork for these sort of records, along with Tribe's first record.
Yes.
This, Brand Nubian, less well-known than those bands.
Yes.
One of the more forgotten groups of that sort of
Yeah.
era and style.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I wanted to go into it and be like, oh, totally underrated classic. Why does no one ever listen to this? You know, this should be talked about when we talk about, you know, Organized Confusion and De La and Jungle Brothers and, you know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I sort of could understand why this faded away. It's sort of very competent, passable, and unimpressive, you know, conscious hip-hop.
Huh.
The production, very basic.
Some of the I agree. Some of the beats are better than others.
I'm not going to say it's simplistic, even though it is.
It
but
is, yeah.
For 1990 hip hop, it's not like totally unheard of for this. Like this is not like a bad production job for early 90s hip hop. You know, this sounds better than like Adventures of Slick Rick or some shit. You know, in terms of just the complexity of the beats, the use of samples, it's much more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
But compared to like Prince Paul's production on the De La records, it's
no comparison.
Oh yeah, it's or like
you don't really compare that.
You know, a few years later when RZA comes out, and even like what Public Enemy was doing, this isn't dissimilar than like what Public Enemy was doing, but that's just so much more active, so much more hard-hitting. Yeah. Now, that doesn't work for this type of band. These guys are more chill, more laid-back, more kind of like fun, friendly MCs. Sort of like De La, than like Public Enemy that's like we're hitting you with this message. This is the message we're preaching. These are the words you have to hear. Fight the power. Get out there. You know, like
bring the noise.
It's a punch in the face of a hip hop record, and it's got that hard hitting quality to it. This is more
all for one.
Chill out, relax.
Yeah.
Shooting some b-ball outside of the school when a couple of guys that were up in
exactly.
It's more fun and fanciful and like free spirited, sort of flowery, like that whole flower thing that De La did. It's more like that, but it doesn't have that totally playful nature that those early De La records had. That first De La record, you listen to it and it sounds like you're hanging out with a bunch of friends and they're like cracking jokes, they're like doing skits, they're like coming up with stuff on the fly. They're like sampling old Steely Dan records.
Like you want to hang out with these guys.
Yeah, it sounds very warm and lush and inviting. And it's a long record, but it doesn't wear itself out. This is more... It sounds like these guys are trying to prove something more than De La.
Okay.
The rhymes are a bit more typical.
Yeah.
But they have that slant of friendliness to them.
Yeah.
This isn't battle rap.
No.
But they are saying, like, my name's so-and-so, I'm here to say this, this is what I'm all about.
Right.
Whereas De La is very, like, I don't know, it's so idiosyncratic, you can't even really compare it to anything. Well, I mean, I'm gushing all over it. De La is one of my favorite groups.
Yeah.
So,
Balloon Minds.
Ours is, well. Yeah.
But, it was a bit too long. A bit one note.
Yeah.
A lot of the songs sound similar, start to blend together.
Any standout tracks?
The standout track for me, I liked the opening track, All for One, but too long. It's 5 minutes long. It's too long. Pare it back a little. I like the idea of doing a long opening track on a debut hip-hop album. Really, like, getting it all out there on the table.
Yeah.
But I would have liked the beat to change up, like, halfway through or something.
Yeah.
Like sort of like a big record scratch. And it's like, now we're getting to it. And like then like a different change of beat. And, to get you ramped up a second time. Like, oh, this beat's nice. And then, oh, this is what I'm talking about. Like, but it didn't quite do that. It just kept going. It wasn't bad, but after a while I was starting to think, well, if this is what you have to offer.
Yeah. No, I got you.
Not quite
I'm a big fan of Slow Down. I love that song. Yeah,
that was a good track. The one track that really sounds like, I'm forgetting what the name of it is. There's a track on here that sounds like the classic Wu-Tang joint, Shame on a Nuh. Before Shame on a Nuh was Shame on a Nuh.
Favorite on my debut.
That's your favorite on the Wu-Tang?
What? I totally forget what... Step to the Rear. Step to the Rear.
We were talking about this the other day.
Step to the Rear is the track. It has the same groove to...
Yeah. I get what you're saying, though. Like, a track like Slow Down, it has that boom, dun, dun, like, it has a cool, like, laid-back kind of feel. Like, some of their songs are a little more, like, laid-back, and then, like...
Yeah.
They're very... But I get what you're saying. They are, in some ways, a little more one-note than some of the other groups.
De La Soul's third LP, Balloon Mind State, which is my favorite of theirs.
Me too.
I always think of Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. That's a record that sounds like that movie looks.
Oh, okay.
This like sort of.
I never thought about it that way.
I always think of it that way. This hot day, you're hanging out with friends. There's a little bit of like tension going on, but you're having a good time. It's funny but serious. It's not like goofy, but you're like laughing. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like, and the heat of that, and like the sort of like being on a city street and hearing all these different sounds.
Ego trip.
Oh, you hear soul music blasting over here. You hear somebody jamming on the sax over here, and then this booming hip hop beat walking down the street on a boombox.
Right.
This has a similar sort of vibe in like tone, but you don't get that sort of combination of different voices other than the fact that there's different MCs. That's a strong point of the record. The rapping's good. But the production is just too one note to sustain itself through the whole runtime. And it's over an hour long. It's like 70 minutes long. Yeah. It's very long. And then to do like two versions of Wake Up, it's a good track, but two versions, both 5 minutes long, seems like more like stuff you would expect on like a bonus disc than like the main album.
I agree.
And I get it that hip-hop's a little different than like rock and roll or jazz.
Yeah.
Hip-hop, they're more inclined to lay everything out on the table, do these long records. because it's music that's more traditionally, at least, especially at this time, more traditionally listened to through singles than full LPs.
Yeah.
So, of course, you're going to put every song you got on the record, because who knows what one is going to connect to what person. But
Exactly.
for listening to it as a whole record, like, this is great for singles. Like, you throw on one song and it's great. For a party, for hanging out, for just hearing some music of this style, it captures the era and the vibe. But to listen to the whole album, it's probably not something I would return to a lot.
Okay, that makes sense.
It doesn't have that cohesive flow that De La brought to rap.
Yeah,
because they
I
were
agree.
some of the first people to do, like, even those Public Enemy records don't really work better as records than the songs do individually. But the De La stuff is totally designed to be a whole. There's singles in it, but it's designed to be a singular whole. The tracks fuse into one another. There's a flow to the record. This is more just like singles laid one after the other. So I enjoy it in that sense, but it wasn't like a totally compelling listen as a whole. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would give this like a strong 3 or
Okay.
a weak 3.5. Like somewhere around like a 3.25 and do that business.
Sure.
I enjoyed it, but I could sort of understand why these guys are sort of more only known by the hip-hop purists and people who are really into this period in hip-hop than like the general public.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy listening to it.
Yeah. I
It had
agree.
some strong points.
Yeah. I thought of Jarrod because I have XM radio in the car and I listen to the station Backspin,
yeah.
and they are constantly on Brand Nubian.
Huh.
Initially I recommended Jarrod Gangstar, and I'm like, well, let's
Because
see.
I had heard some Gangstar
You'd
before,
heard some-
but
you'd
you
heard
recommended
some
it
of
now
the
and I hadn't heard, but it was sort of just more the same.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought, it's a rap group Jarrod hasn't heard. Maybe I want to hear what he has to say about it. So
Well, here's the whole time I was thinking De La Soul when you guys were talking, but the other guy I was thinking of that first the debut of Del.
Del the Funky.
Oh, yeah.
Just a really pop
Feel good
poppin' album like that. That's what I got that vibe out of hearing you guys.
But if you like early hip hop, especially like the groups like Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, give it a listen. You might you probably enjoy it.
I agree. Well, we're coming to the end of the show. Before we sign out, we just want to talk about 2014 quickly, briefly.
2014 in general was kind of fun. Just in general.
Musically, it was a good year, I think.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good records, and if you want to check out my full best albums of 2014 list, I have my top 20 up with descriptions and my thoughts
Posted on the In-Groove
on my
page.
blog, filmstatic.blogspot.com. Ben, quick,
Yes.
like, what strikes you as the best records of 2014? Just like a few.
For me personally, St. Vincent's album, one of my absolute flippin' duper favorites. I listen to that a lot.
I agree. It came out early in the year, but it just sort of hung over the year as this sort of watermark of what you wanted other records to reach towards.
And I'll mention this one just because I saw them live a few months ago. Turn Blue by the Black Keys. That one I really enjoy. I enjoy the group in general, and they struck a good chord this year. Obviously, Run the Jewels, like you and I saw last week. RTJ was
Ben and I saw Run the Jewels live.
Yeah, that was fun. But RTJ too was pretty darn strong. But there's one in particular, and we could probably talk about this a long time, but we'll keep it. You and I can keep it short.
If I think what you're going to say, we could do a whole show about it.
Yeah, I know. But I do need to...
We could do a show about it that's significantly longer than the actual album
I know.
is.
But, like, I do need to mention it because I listened to it the other day. It's now my favorite of the whole year, right before St. Vincent's. This is the Antlers Familiars. I listened to it the other day, and I still haven't...
That is not what I thought you were going to say.
Oh, well.
I thought you were going to talk about the Roots.
Oh, no, that's not my favorite. My favorite is, again, talking about your blog journey.
You're stealing my thunder, you motherfucker.
I know, but I listen to it. I'm sitting there doing my finals and everything, doing my graphics,
my God.
and I throw that on.
That's
And I'm like,
funny.
well, I need. Well, next year I got a new radio show of new music coming in, and I'm like, all right, I gotta grab stuff. So I see your post, and your number one was this one, and I keep seeing it on.
It's my number one record of the year,
and I keep seeing it come up on Spotify, and I'm like, what is this? So I put it on. God, I just felt.
Did you have
so
any
much.
idea what you were what you like? Were gonna
No, I
hear?
thought it was some like indie. No, okay, not indie. I saw the cover and you think, well, this is gonna be really freaking traumatizing, and probably really emotional. Maybe it's a little much, maybe over dramatized or something. Because I'm looking at the album cover and it's these two people holding each other. Like, man, that's heavy. But I listened to it and oh my lord, it's a masterpiece. Like I was absolutely blown away. But
that's the Antlers Familiars, which is also my number one of the year.
I won't go on too much, but those three, St. Vincent, Churn Blue, and the Familiars, as well, even though we've already talked about the War on Drugs, those
and Clipping, I'm assuming.
And Clipping
is a favorite, and you did really like the Roots record, right?
I loved it.
Yeah, I did too.
Because, and I loved that. I brought it up in my graphics class, and actually someone was just like, "That one's friggin' awesome." I'm like, "Oh, you like the Roots?" But no, this was a pretty solid year. Some good ones and some really bad ones. I know you and I don't. I know you and I don't like this. I don't know how to actually say your name. FKA Twigs. Do you say FKA Twigs?
No, I don't say FKA Twigs.
I
say
sure.
FKA Twigs.
All right, I was just making sure. Like, that you
I don't want to
say
talk
FKA.
about FKA Twigs, man.
But like that was a weak one. But the other ones are very strong. I like this year though. In general, this was a good year.
Yeah.
And it's Dan. Did you? I know you did it like Stuck in the Past, but like besides War on Drugs, was there anything?
Yeah, I like
the Roots record a lot.
Yep, and then you shoot your cousin.
I have to say, I really liked that War on Drugs.
I know you did.
It's not a bad pick for number one. But
great.
for me, ever since I heard it, the Antlers was.
Yeah.
Where would you put the War on Drugs? Like maybe 3?
It's top 10.
Yeah.
Top 10 definitely. Yep. I'm looking at my little list that I have up on Film Static right now, and War on Drugs is at 8.
Yeah.
You know, other ones that weren't messing. I know you really like this one as well. The newest Liars record is great.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Mess.
Yep.
The new Sia record is phenomenal.
Chandelier's big on the radio, yeah? I haven't listened to it.
If I could tell you how many times I've listened to Chandelier, I've heard it hundreds of times. I love that song so much. It's the... Okay, these are my two favorite songs of the year. Flicker by Atmosphere is number 1, and Chandelier is number 2.
Damn.
And then every song on Familiars.
Yeah.
James's new record, La Petite Mort, is one of my favorites, and the best metal record of the year is The Satanist by Behemoth.
Oh, that was so good.
But check out my list on Film Static, and we will be back later, and we'll be looking forward to 2015.
Oh, shit. What is different?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Have a holly jolly New Year.